To our friends in the Chevra Kadisha of Austin, Texas, I want to thank my dear friend Rabbi Levi Mendelson for inviting me to participate with your gathering. It is an honor to know that we have Chevra Kadisha all over the world. My name is Levi Mendelson, and I want to share from my experience in Chevra Kadisha at the beginning, the first month of the war that just happening right now in Israel. As you see me now dressing as a rabbi, I wasn't like this in those days. I'm serving in Miluim, what called reserve duty in IDF, the Israeli army, and my job is to identify a body. And usually we train to walk in destroyed buildings. And the first day of the war and the massacre of October 7, it was a Simchat Torah here in Israel. And on this Saturday we had what we thought it was 1,400 casualties. Eventually it was, the word only is not the perfect word to use. There was 1,200 killed, Israeli killed, and the rest of the bodies wasn't Jewish bodies. And this is reflecting the first challenge that I'd like to share. I'm not going to go into the halacha topic, and we had many dilemmas. Most of the top halacha authority in Israel, the rabbis, obviously the chief rabbis of Israel, and Rabbi Rose, which is I think the worldwide is the most expert in the world in this matter, and many other rabbis came to advise, and we had struggled with many conflicts and dilemmas, what to do and how to do. At the first day of the war, I was still at home. My job is officially when buildings are collapsing in Tel Aviv. My unit is extracting people from these buildings, and if there is dead bodies there, so it's our job to identify them and to keep the record and this and that. A day later, when they've realized how many dead bodies we have, unfortunately, so they called all of these units called the Anoch unit. It's Rashi Tevot in Hebrew for gathering the details, Isuf Netunim. And we all came to the rabbinical, the IDF rabbinical camp. It's called Shura. This is the name of the place. And there was two separate stations. One station was for the soldiers that died in the war, and it kept war until now. Unfortunately, thanks God, in these days, this last few days, we didn't have many deaths in Gaza Strip, but it kept going for months, fourth month. And the other station that it officially closed already was for civilian deaths, and we had over 1,200 bodies. So the first dilemma is when you have a dead body and you don't know if this is a Jewish or non-Jewish. Obviously, you all know that we're trying to keep a Jewish cemetery separate, and only Jewish are buried there, because the Gemara is saying about a Jew that is buried with his own fellow Jew. And when we had bodies that it's hard to say, hard to speak about, but there was bodies that was brutally destroyed, not only beheaded bodies that we obviously saw many, also the bodies that just the face got by a bullet or by a missile, an RPG rocket. It thinks that you just can't see if it's a male or a female, or the face, and definitely you can't know if this is a terrorist or one of us. On my second day in the, it's called Tarach. It's a word in Hebrew that collects three words. Tachanat Rikuz Chalalim. It's a station where you collect your casualties. And I took off the clothes, obviously, of one of the dead bodies, and we saw a grenade, live grenade, in his pocket. I was with the scissors in a second, and a second later, we were all called to run out. I didn't realize what in the pocket. Another Chevra Kadisha member was next to me. Actually, it wasn't a soldier, it was a civilian. He said, "You holding a grenade?" I didn't realize. We saw many things in their pockets, especially and the months later when we finished to identify all of 4 bodies. We took people that was in a, it was questionable if they are terrorists or civilians or soldiers or people. So we double checked them. For example, I saw maps, I saw guns, and they were very organized. One more dilemma, the way it works was like this. First of all, obviously, bodies that was just simply very easy to find, so we took them all. The second step was to scan all the territory, beginning with the villages, kibbutzim, and then just the field. And as you all may know, there is halacha that it's called in Hebrew dam hanefesh, the blood that taking out the soul from the body, meaning the blood that the person is losing while dying away. So this blood needs to be buried with the body. If he just lost blood and then he stayed alive, so this is not the blood that's supposed to be buried with him. And this is what Zaka got famous for, that after all the terror attacks in the buses, that there was a suicide terrorists. So they used to collect all of the body and pieces of human pieces, actually. So there is a army unit. It's called the Yasar Yechidat Siyur. It's basically a patrol unit, but their job is to collect all of the pieces. And it's not just halacha, it's also to try to collect the intelligence about the situation of the people. If they are still alive, they took, and in one case that we deal with, they took a blood from inside the road more than 2 weeks after the massacre of October 7, that many cars already drove by this road, and they were able to collect DNA from the blood that got into the road, and somehow they managed to decide that a missing person that we had, so he passed by this place. And then later they find out another piece of brain, actually, that where his that was the way to determine that he's not with us anymore. They probably kidnapped his body, but he's not alive. Anyway, I'm not gonna keep talking too many details like this that it's hard to speak about, and it's definitely hard to hear that. I want to send you a message that this is what unifying us as a nation, that we know how to keep the holiness of the bodies of 4 people. Not only that we keep the holiness of the life, but also the holiness of the bodies, and to know that the same way that we are working this difficult job here in Israel, we have association of Chevra Kadisha all over the world, and they are all united, and we're all one nation together. It's empowering us, it's giving us the strength to win this war, and we will win, we are winning, and it's thanks to your partnership with all of Jewish from all over the world. So thank you for inviting me to take part in your event, and keep up the good job. Thank you very much.